talk about it and see what's helped us through the issues or what's been great about it and what we've learned in this new way of life that we have. Me personally, it's been a blessing. I'm going to try to not say every 30 seconds as well. So I think right. It's better than
we'll get you there, bud.
Other words.
What I'll probably say.
There you go. Or like. There's all those words that I get caught up saying. So I think with that, I just want to kind of have the description for new listeners, which everyone is right now.
Brand new.
I think it was Facebook Live. I believe it's through 2218's website, and there is a YouTube channel as well. And we're trying to get as much advertising out there as possible right now. It's fresh. We've had a week to get going on it, and we're going to keep growing on this, the advertising
Feel free
aspect.
to give us some feedback. We
100%.
can't grow without people telling us how good or poor we're doing. So feel free to give us feedback, and absolutely, like if
ideas,
different guests.
Unless it's negative, then
we don't want that shit.
Yeah. No negativity.
Right.
So should we start chopping it up, guys?
Yeah. What the heck? We're going to give it over to you two.
Rob, you wanted to talk about going through the pain?
No, I wanted to talk about walking through the pain.
Walking through the pain.
Yes.
Okay.
But I wanted Sammer to start first.
Okay.
Perfect.
He seemed a lot more put together than I was, so.
This is how I was born.
I
was born this way.
I was born this way as well. I'll tat it up
put
and
together, right?
Lucky you.
Right.
It took a few showers to get this.
Right.
And what I was thinking about is when I first got clean, like I was so dirty and I had so many toxins in my body. It's like it seemed like I needed a shower every like 3-4 hours. I don't know if that's familiar to you. If you guys, you know, like there was just so much coming out of me. I felt like every time I put on a pair of socks, they were dirty like that because there was just so much. I was like dirty and grimy, you know. So I want to say thank you. Actually, thank you for having me as a guest and Rob as a guest on this inaugural show, and I really love this idea, and I love how ambitious you are, Tad, you and Tim are. I think this is great. So I really hope that this idea. I know that the idea will hopefully continue to evolve, but I really hope you continue to foster it and push into it. If you don't want to talk about walking through the pain, like the idea.
No, I do.
Well, I do. You know, the idea. I wanted to talk about fear of intimacy because I feel like that's really relevant in my life, and it's not just at the moment, but it continues to feel like it's relevant in my life. Initially, when I had walked in here, I was thinking talking about fear, but it's just fear. Fear has its tentacles in damn near everything.
Right. It's all touching.
The backbone of our day-to-day almost.
Right.
What I found is that if I can identify an area of my life where I'm making decisions out of fear, it's not something that I can compartmentalize. If I can identify it in one area of my life, it means that it's just going to be pervasive in lots of different areas, and I'll be able to find fear-based decisions in a lot of different areas. But I do at the moment, and not just now, but it's been for several months now, finding myself with just a fear of intimacy, and it's not just in romantic relationships. I'm finding it in friendships also, that I'm just scared. I mean, I'm really just afraid.
I think that's very curious myself. Like, and I'm not talking romantic relationships. I'm talking always all aspects, because I've always been very good at these surface BS friendships. Like, I have hundreds of people that I have surface level, but then like I get into this with my sponsor and with other people, and it's awkward. And like, there's only so much that Tad wants to share with people because I get scared. Yeah, I get scared.
We shared about that. Matter of fact, you, not to take it over, but we went down, an hour conversation our way back from a convention we were at.
I remember that.
Well, we were talking about superficial friends.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think a lot of that stems from, for me, it is a form of fear of intimacy, because you're laying it not so much romantically, but we meet so many new people in recovery all the time. There's a new person coming in every day, and only so many and out of trial and I don't want to say trial and error type situation, but you meet someone, you give them your all, you try to be there, and you get to know them, and they disappear.
Right.
No phone call, no nothing. Now that's the nature of the beast of what
Yeah.
we're involved in, and I've learned that the hard way, time and time again, through new friends. Now, like me and Dad, I don't know, we bonded really quick. We're sharing a lot of stuff, and he said
All
that
of a
about
sudden,
yeah.
Timmy was in my life, and Rob's like, this is your sponsor, brother, and now you guys are best friends, and we joked about it, and now we are. We even got
Yeah.
matching bracelets.
It's matching, yeah. Eventually, you guys. will
Thanks,
see it.
Mom.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Tad.
Miss Tab.
But, well, I
That's
haven't
great.
met your mom
Miss
yet.
Fletcher.
Ms. Fletcher, thank you so much. The bracelet's beautiful. I do like it and wear it with pride. We'll never take it off.
So
But with the friendship thing, I relate to that a lot, or the fear of intimacy. I can relate to that when it comes to friendships. And in the past 3 years, I've probably met 1,000 new people.
Right.
Maybe 15 of them are Rob's one of them. I met him in early recovery. With the COVID, it's not that we just didn't talk anymore, but it was really far and few between. But he's one of the guys that I picked the phone up one day, said, "Let's go catch some breakfast." Off to a breakfast spot we went, and it was like it was like a real friendship. And unfortunately, I've experienced the other side of that way too often, of where I thought, me and this guy are gonna gel, like it's gonna be awesome, and never a word one or two again from him. And it hurts. So then I put the guards up moving down the road. I'm not even taking the lunge into the relationship with females yet
Right.
in recovery. I'm nervous. I get to see my surroundings.
That'll be on next week's.
Yeah, it will too. I
And
believe
probably the
it.
week after that as well.
Well, yeah.
what I've learned in recovery, is that I have to be vulnerable to those, or I'm not going to continue to grow. I'm denying myself, and I'm going to be miserable, because it's what I've wanted is the connectivity, the family. I remember being in recovery this time, and I was going to leave. This is a story involving Sammer, actually. I was going to leave treatment. I was done. I prayed to God for a sign, and I walked away. I had never walked down Nicollet, and I ran into Sammer and another friend, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I told them how I had died twice, and I was in treatment, and Sammer gave me a hug, and that meant the world to me. And every time Sammer, who had done lectures at treatment centers, would see me, and he showed genuine interest, and then eventually I got his number, and he'd care about what I'm doing. I felt like someone cared, even if no one else cared. I felt like that one person. I was able to build off of
Yeah,
that.
and that sticks with you. It sticks with you.
What are some of the ways that you cope with, what you were talking about, Sammer?
With what I was talking about.
with the fear.
Fear of intimacy.
What are some of the ways that I cope with it?
Yeah, how do you deal with that?
Pull your mic a little closer.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. When I think about fear of intimacy, I think about, what do you have to do in order to create intimacy? And I think at least some part of it means that you got to give something up. So it's not just about trust, and it's not just about vulnerability. It's about the way that I create intimacy, if I can, is I oftentimes have to identify the feeling inside of me that it's like I'll be talking about something, and it'll be that feeling like I don't want to talk about that thing. And so in order to create intimacy, for me, I got to expose that thing.
Right.
So it's a consistent feeling of exposing the parts of me that I really don't want to talk about with people.
Yeah.
And so the way that I cope with a fear of intimacy, like you said, Tad, is I do my best to identify that feeling when it comes, and I push through it. But it can sometimes be this overwhelming, like an overwhelming voice. You don't want to talk about that. You don't want to tell them. Maybe you're going to feel ashamed. Maybe you're maybe you're somewhere and you can hear. It gets to be this trapped feeling sometimes, not only internally, but when I can see other people expressing things about themselves. Like, everybody knows what vulnerability looks like. Everybody knows what it sounds like. But the more difficult thing is bringing it back home and being like, okay, because internally the voice says, if I let go of that one, they're going to think differently about me. which is interesting because when I see other people be vulnerable, I say, man, that took courage. Man, I
right.
identify. Man, that made me feel better. I could probably expose a little bit about myself to that person.
So do you find yourself then more or less with the experiences you've have had? Do you find that you're putting less walls up, or I don't know the situation, but do you find yourself that you're putting less walls up and not your guard up as much when you're in the position of intimacy with someone versus in earlier recovery? Meaning the growth. Have you experienced a lot more growth with that, where you're able to push through it easier now? Has it gotten easier, I guess, is a better way to word the question.
Well, yes and no. I think at the same time that I've learned a lot of things to make it become easier, it's the ways that I shield myself from vulnerability also. So it's like it's tricky. It's sort of this shape shifting thing that although
Evolving.
yeah, it yes, it evolves and it continues to evolve, right? So at one point I knew I'm sure as fuck not letting anybody know about myself. And as a matter of fact, it would go beyond that. Like I would lie about myself.
Right.
Or,
Absolutely.
So when I heard you talking about persona earlier, I was hoping that, that's what you were talking about, like the face that we put on for other people
Okay.
because we want to be accepted, right? And so when I think of fear of intimacy, it's really just that idea that if I tell this person exactly who I am, are they actually going to accept that? That's intimacy. So when it's a fear of intimacy, it's really just that deep down belief that I have inside sometimes that says, if I tell them who I really am or what I really think, they're gonna leave me anyway.
Okay.
They're not gonna. I mean, you can call it acceptance, you can call it whatever it is. Lots of people like to use fancy words like fear of abandonment, and I think there's a lot of validity to it.
Kind of in the eye of the beholder how they want to label it, though. I mean, the bottom line for it is kind of what you just touched on is, are they going to like me if I put it all out on the table? And there's where the fear kind of evolves from.
Well, yes. I mean, yes, at the end of the day. So just like as brief as possible. For me, a lot of it, I was consumed by lying for a very long time and misrepresenting myself. I've heard it called, like, we send the representative, right? The phony fake facade, and really what I know now that I didn't know then is that I had invented a person.
Okay.
And
I've done that many times.
The identity crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of getting over the fear of intimacy has been, and a lot of this recovery process has been that I don't have to act as the invention anymore.
It's a good way to put it.
I like that.
And
Yeah.
the one thing that I was thinking, and just really quick to just answer your question, like, what are the ways I cope, or do I think it gets easier? I think sometimes it's easier, and then sometimes it's harder. It's a lot of it has been getting over the idea that you mentioned the walls, right? You mentioned the wall, and so I think a lot of us have, I'm an abstract expressionist, so I always see like pictures in my mind, and I think about a wall around me. And the idea I used to have is that I create this wall, and the idea is that as long as I have this wall, I can keep you out. I can keep you at a distance.
Right.
And then through the recovery process, I start to meet some really cool fucking people, right? And they're willing to be vulnerable, and they're willing to be honest. And so at a certain point, the wall that I had created around myself to keep people out, it's keeping me in.
Right.
And so it's sort of that idea, like when you go to your house or your apartment or something like that, and you lock the door, are you keeping people out, or are you keeping yourself in?
We create
So
our own
it's like-
prisons.
Wow.
Right?
So it's an eye opener looking at it that way.
And so I don't know, when I say that fear of intimacy is relevant in my life today, it's sort of like this undulating thing that, like, I go from being very guarded to and I use these harsh words because sometimes in my mind that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm exposing myself. It doesn't feel like I'm being vulnerable about like these cute, lovable parts of me. And no, it's like I feel like I'm exposing myself, and I'm exposing this shameful shit to other people that I just,
Totally.
that I feel shame over. And so it goes from like, it truly is like what grows in the dark dies in the light of exposure. And I found that when I actually give parts of myself to other people that may be shameful, it can hurt if it comes back to me, or it can hurt if they use those things against me eventually.
Yes.
But each time it's like it chips away at the power that it had over me. It's not
Right.
quite as shameful. It's not quite as powerful in dominating my thinking. It's not quite as there's more of a level of ownership that happens when I'm able to make it mine. And so when I expose it myself, it takes the power, a little less power that you have to be hurtful
Okay.
with me about it, if that makes
That
sense.
Yeah,
100%, yeah.
I totally get where you're coming from. If y'all know me, I used to be super sensitive, still can be.
Still can be.
Yep.
Go ahead,
And,
sponsor. What were you gonna say? He definitely can be.
You know, we all are. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, really. You know, I think that like a lot of like, you know, the sensitivity is like us trying to hide from our emotions. Anyways, that's why we used. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, and then like we got all these years of stuffed emotions and things that happened and traumatic events and all these things that like we thought we handled and everything was just all good. You know, and then we get some time. You know, and then it's like 9 months down the road, and you're calling your sponsor, and you're like, "Man, I don't know what happened, man."
I just saw a kitty commercial and I was
the dogs
crying.
the dogs on the TV they got one eye, man. You know what I mean? And, it's like, yeah, it's called emotions. You know, welcome to the human race. I've gotten calls about that. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
about like,
you were there at one point.
oh, of course,
too.
I'm still there. What are you talking about, man? I'll cry all day. I see a puppy, man. It's got one eye, man. You know what
You
I mean?
know,
Like,
on that.
you want to hustle me into doing something, man? Just get me a puppy. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, man. It
Well,
gets me every
that
time.
brought you in here in a way. You told me about the loss of feeling for your dogs really
Right.
opened your eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject, I still want to with what Sammers was talking about. When we took this journey into recovery, when you're figuring out this, it just like a light shed on me thinking about this. When you build this persona of yourself or who you are, I was thinking for myself personally, you get into recovery and you get clean. Me personally, I'm trying to figure out who I am.
Right.
I'm learning day by day who I really am, because for how many years was I in a cloud, or was I not who I was? So in early recovery, I start creating in my head who I want to be. Never taking a second to look, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm still in that position of figuring out who I really am. And I don't know if that goes away, or if I'm on an island by myself with that, or where. I mean, and I was gonna bug Rob about it because I wanted to know when you took this journey in recovery, did you come into it knowing, all right, this is the guy I am, this is who I want to be, or were you just like the rest of us and figuring it out as you went?
Well, you know, when I first got here, man, you know, I was pretty like spiritually broken. You know what I mean? On the inside, it was like I couldn't even have it in me to cry. It was just like everything just felt gone. You know what I mean? So like I got to the rooms and I saw everybody hugging and shit, and I was like, I don't want no fucking hug. You know what I mean? Like I remember Sammer was at one of the first meetings that I even went to, and I remember like I'm just sitting here thinking about that as we're talking, that like it's been almost 5 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, when I got here, I made sure that like people would not approach me. You know what I'm saying? Like I had this overwhelming anxiety that I didn't want anybody to know about. You know what I'm saying? So like when people sat next to me, it was like I felt like I was gonna puke. You know what I mean? And like and over time, like there was a select few that were like, I'm gonna give you a hug anyways. You know what I mean? And it was just like, oh shit, man, here's another fucking hug. You know, and you know, and like, you know, some time went on, man, and and I started talking with these people, and and I got the sponsee family, and like, and I'm thinking family, I'm like, I don't know anything about family but dysfunctional, you know what I mean? And so then it was like we talked about everything, that intimacy and all that stuff that like it sounds so scary as we say it, so like and then like things started happening where like I had to rely on this family, and then it was like, so that in turn, like, like you were saying, exposing myself to them, was letting them get to know me, because I didn't really want anybody to know me, you know what I mean? And I at this point, like I was kind of figuring out that like A, I wasn't the person that like I thought I was, and B, I wasn't the person that I wanted you to believe that I was.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like over time, you know, these people saw right through it. You know what I mean? And like, you know, fast forward to now, like I'll be in the rooms and like I'll look around the rooms for the most disgruntled looking motherfucker there,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, "What's up,
Yeah,
man?" You know what I
that's-
mean?
That's my guy.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's gonna be calling me in 9 months, like, "Man, I saw that commercial, man." You know what I mean?
When I had heard you guys talking about like you take a look at you and you know that's like we want to avoid you, I'm like that's I think the opposite. I take one look, I'm like that's my dude
Right,
there.
right, right.
Like that's we put a magnet on our head.
So you
for
can relate to the most.
I mean, not always, right? But what I've come to find is that oftentimes similar people put like it's like you put a magnet up, and you get attracted to the same kind of people. Sort of
Right.
like good people gravitate towards good people, and
Right.
you know, like people that are on one kind of
Yeah.
gravitate towards them.
Right.
That makes sense too.
I think what helped me a lot is like, so I had all these expectations too. And like, I'm just going to share a story about me and Sammer. So, like, Sammer had known me, and like, so Sammer was my role model. I looked at him as like my elder or my above because he's speaking at treatment centers.
Predecessor.
Yeah.
The predecessor.
And, you know, I had thought, you know, and I'm doing all this service work and people are being mean to me and I'm still in my feelings and it's stressful and I'm whining to Sammer every time I see him or bragging to him about stuff. And then,
It can be both.
yeah, both at the same time. And then I see Sammer when COVID happens and Sammer looks distraught. He looks disheveled. He's not himself. And he's having a hard time. And he's like, I'm so glad you guys are open. It's good to see you. And I have a couple talks.
2218, you mean?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I have a couple talks with him, and like it humanized him for me, and like instantly there, I now have a bond with Sammer that you know, and once that happened, and it's happened with several other people, and I realized that people genuinely love me for me.
Yeah.
I don't have to be fake dad or whatever. I don't have to have these characters.
Right.
And B, when you guys make fun of me, I don't get offended because I know you guys love me.
Right.
Either you're giving me a hard time because you love me, or you're telling me it's something that I need to work on because you love me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand that. I thought everybody was picking on me, and and now I need to flip out, and you know,
Well,
and
that's our emotions. You know?
yeah, and it's a beautiful thing once you get there, and that's what we're talking about at its core for me is intimacy. People care about me despite my bullshit,
Right.
and that's pretty cool. And once that happened and I finally got it, it was like a light switch hit. And all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, I should do that for other people, what they're doing for me.
Bingo.
And my life changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Uh,
No, go ahead. I started cutting you off.
Oh, I was thinking about something you said. Well, in my head, I was thinking about identity, and it wasn't persona, and it wasn't facade. It's going to come back to me.
I
But
feel like my identity is constantly growing where I'm at in recovery, where I'm at in the steps. Like it's evolving.
Yeah.
And for my recovery personally, it goes hand in hand because I'm proud of my recovery now. You know, and the people I surround myself with are too. We're all recovery people. That's kind of what we do. But like I can't be stagnant. And
No.
if I'm not growing as a person and that's not changing, then I'm in trouble.
Then you're sick. You stay
Yeah.
sick. You know.
And then what I found when that happens, all of a sudden old crap comes up,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you know
That person you were trying to get away from.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
character defects.
The old crap. Well, it can't. I'm thinking about it because I used to go through a period where we would talk about it, or rather, I would talk about it. They'd say, "What's going on?" I'd be like, old behavior." They say, "It can't be old behavior if you were just doing the shit today."
Sammer said that he hit me with that once, and I was like,
"It's not. You can't do it today." You did remind me, though. I was thinking about what you had said, just about finding out who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you were looking for some kind of like validation about like, you know, am I at where I'm supposed to be, right? And whatever, you know, with coming up on a half dozen years for me, I've come to at least so far, I've come to find that not only does it continue to evolve, but I'll just say, like, I never really talk about, like, I'm finding out who I am. Like, I'm finding out who I am, right? Because a lot of this process for me has been finding out who I'm not.
Right.
It's been 5+ years now of like shedding the layers,
Is
like
that kinda-
shedding
yeah.
and shedding and shedding. It's not just behaviors that I don't want to participate in. A lot of it is the old ideas that I have about who I am and what I think I'm capable of. And when I still, like I'm coming to find sometimes it takes time for issues to surface. It's like these old ideas and these old beliefs about who I am and what I think I'm capable of. I can cling to them. So it's been years of shedding those things. I think somewhere in there I get to find out, at least a glimpse of who I am so far. But for me, it's mostly been identifying the things that I'm not. So I've
So
come to
is it-
find out like my morals and values by finding out what's not cool with me. Nope, that's not who I am. Or nope, I don't want to do that. Or, but I do have a mind to. It just so happens I gravitate towards the shit that's bad for me. Like it just so
Yeah.
happens,
Right.
What
Right,
a
right.
coincidence.
And it doesn't have to fit in a spoon or a syringe in
Right.
order to cause some serious damage.
Right.
So is that go back to now? It might be minimal, but we can't facade. Is that who you when you took this step into recovery, and you have an image of who you are? Is that the image that you're chipping away at, or you see what I'm asking? Did you have an idea of who you in your mind? This is who I am, and then you're finding out not so much of like you're saying, not the differences, similarities, but you're shedding away what you're realizing you're not.
Well, for me, I think there's some truth to it about this idea about who I am or who I think I am. But what I've come to find, what I didn't know then that I know now, is that it was less about it was less about who I thought I was, and what I made a lot more important is I found myself acting like the person that I thought you thought I was.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so like
Clear as
once
day.
I was able to identify that, it was like a great sense of relief. It's fucking exhausting putting on
Oh.
the show, It's
Oh, hell yeah. I
Yeah.
used to practice conversations and different stuff before, and like, so I'd find people, and you've been one of those people at times. I'd find people, and I'd like what they'd say, and instead of emulating that and working on myself, I'd become them, or
Right.
or a fake version of them, and
We
I've-
talked about that with the podcast.
Right.
We were listening, we're so jazzed up about this podcast. Like, we start talking to each other.
You
like,
were?
Yeah.
yeah, we
you
were a little
yeah.
excited.
You are.
As our sponsor
What do you,
said.
you are. What do you mean you were?
But we,
Oh yeah, we're hyped.
Oh yeah, beyond that, we start looking at different podcasts, and we start going down those rabbit holes of watching this and this, and it's clear as day. Don't try to imitate be who you are. You gotta be who we are, but some of the times we're still trying to figure that out.
And
I mean,
What I've discovered
by day.
when I show up and have to handle situations, just life, not even stressful situations, and I'm doing what we were talking about, pretending, it stresses me out. My anxiety, it doesn't go over
It's
well.
exhausting, like you said.
It's exhausting,
it's
and I
tiring.
crack. But when I show up as myself, I'm able to, intuitively handle situations that used to baffle me.
Wow,
because
those
of
are
I
myself.
think
great
I
words.
read that somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I read that somewhere.
I didn't just come up with that.
Yeah, right. No, what I was thinking is that a lot of comfort came from being willing to let go of the idea that I had to be Superman in all situations.
It's funny you said that because I
What's
used to
your old
dress
nickname?
like Superman, and
He's
that
got a
used to be
Superman
my-
tattoo.
and it used to be my nickname, and I used to have 45 Superman shirts, and like that was a real thing for me, and I had to let it go.
Yeah,
this
because
time.
what did it do when you started trying to take on everything and fix everything?
I couldn't.
You'd break, or
And-
is it like you
And
said, tiring? It's
Don't
just-
get me wrong, I still take on way too much, but the difference is now that I share the load when I have to.
No, you're good at it. You're president of Squad Council.
I have a bracelet buddy to help me with the load now.
Oh, no. Take that how you want.
Man, I'm proud of the bracelet my partner here has given
Thanks,
me. My
Mom.
Your partner.
podcast partner has given me. Dag nabbit.
Co-host.
So when you don't have to, Tad, when you don't show up as Superman, what do you like? What has helped you overcome that,
Um,
or how did you get to that place?
people started. How did I get to being Superman or overcoming
No,
it?
getting over Superman.
Yeah,
Becoming the
just
you.
the idea, because a lot of it is we have an idea of who we think. We have an idea of who we think we are, and I say think we are because that's really the thing that evolves.
After several professionals and friends told me it had to go, I came up with the own original idea several years later, very painfully, that it wasn't working. And just the ego, the character, it wasn't working.
You
So
laugh at it now, but it was a big feat for you to
it
get
was.
over.
It was. And I ended up, in the beginning of my recovery, getting rid of all my Superman stuff.
Hey, that's
It
You
was
look so sad when you
devastating.
say
shedding.
that.
It's shedding a layer.
Yeah.
It's
so sad.
40 shirts, lots of stuff. And, there's still remnants. And now, like, the chain I have, I don't have a chain on today, is a Superman chain. But, like, I'm not excessive. I own 4 Superman shirts. It's not an identity thing. I'm talking, if I had a shirt on and you didn't see Superman, there was one under it. Just so I could do the pose. And, like, there were cool. But it was an ego thing. And that was my nickname, too. It
Yeah.
was Soups or Superman. And, and
shedding the layers.
and it was rough because no one's Superman. And like I said, I still take on a hell of a lot of stuff, but the difference is,
Well, we're addicts, is what we do.
oh
you
yeah,
know.
I share the load and I talk about it.
Right.
And I have a sponsor and I have a service work sponsor because someone suggested it, so I tried it out. And not that I always listen to those two, but
Yeah.
but like we talked about, since I've been intimate with people and a lot of people in my life, I have people that'll call me on my crap.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, dude, I've noticed you're wearing all your Superman gear and you're being a dick to people. What's up with that? Like, all of a sudden you think you're
Don't
king
talk
of
to
shit.
me. I'm Superman.
Like, dude, do you know
Back
who
up.
I am? Yeah,
Back
we
up.
know who you are. We hang out with you every day, Tad. Calm down.
So you get put back in your place in a way. Someone who cares about you will remind you of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you take a step back.
I mean, it might be a guy wearing matching Vikings clothes that's annoying. I mean,
So
I
Tad,
love you, Tim.
Tad and myself, we made a phone call prior to the show because we weren't sure if this was going to be videotaped or what have you. So what are we going to wear? Like a couple schoolgirls. It was
I
hilarious.
asked him, he's like,
You
well,
asked
what
your
are you
partner.
going to wear?
Well, I had a white Vikings jersey. I had a purple one. He's like, I got a purple one. I got this one. I got that one. I was like, I'm going to wear my other jersey. He's like, well, I'm going to wear my Thielen. And we got hats. We got matching bracelets. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
pumped.
buddy.
But you know what? Back to reel it in. No, we learn in this process. I've learned. I got to remember, I can't speak for everyone else, and that's something big that I've learned, because I used to say we or us or this
Right.
is what we do in this recovery. No, it's each one of our own personal journeys. But Sammer started sharing on something. I've gotten 6 different aha moments with what you've said. I mean, I can relate to so many things, hearing it in a different way, and that helps my growth. And that's what this thing to me is. I go above and beyond to explain to people this thing of recovery we're doing, this fellowship aspect of it, that keeps me healthy, 100% healthy. And what I mean fellowship is a group of guys sitting down talking, not in a meeting, but a group of guys, a group of friends, people you can rely on, people you can trust what they're saying is coming from the heart, and they genuinely have care in them about you. So he brings up fear of intimacy, and for me, that's something I'm glad you guys, this was the idea. Come with a topic. It opens my mind up to a whole new conversation that probably we wouldn't have had. I mean,
Right.
Tad and
Okay.
I, it might not be the brightest bulbs in the tree, but
Hey,
we
speak
wouldn't
for
have
yourself,
we
bud.
wouldn't have worded it that way. But on a whole
Don't talk
car
to
ride,
Superman like that.
on a whole car ride home, that's what we were talking about.
Right.
I mean, you get down to brass tacks, and we were talking about fear of intimacy. Superficial friendships. Really, who are they? Can you trust them? Who am I? That's kind of in a not as intelligently said, but it's kind of what you're talking about. I mean, and it's a big step for me. It's a huge step to make a new friend that I call a friend. For me,
Oh, it was really cool. I was actually just sharing with Sammer, and I've shared with Rob, and like, I was like, look, man, I know God puts people in your life for a reason at the time, but like, I've always been looking for my buddy that's going to do the service work instead of Tad being here all alone doing service work and everyone else doing that. I was looking for someone else that was going to be doing what I'm doing, and I found that. I found my partner in crime.
Aw.
And
Hey, well, wait a sec, Ted. You're president of Squad Council here at 2218. You're special liaison to the board.
special.
You're the security advisor. Well,
you
I
heard, you
called
heard
you.
that? I'm special, right?
All right,
Yeah.
I called you the advisor, and you're also managing a sober living place where you're doing intakes, you're doing walkthroughs, you're doing randoms. You've still got a crap ton on your plate. Not saying it's too much. You're handling it. You're doing it.
Most days,
it's keeping
not
you
every
in
day.
recovery. I mean, yeah,
you-
it weighs on you. Sure.
You guys know. You guys have all gotten that call when I've been freaking out, and I don't think I can do it, and this and that, and
But this is the other side of the fear of intimacy. You've got intimacy with guys that you're reaching out. This is that other side. You're not having that fear now, and you can reach out and bounce this off us.
and what I always
Walk
say.
you through it.
So
Well,
what
now-
I always
well,
say.
Let me ask: do you have a fear of intimacy still?
A little bit. Sometimes in the back of my mind, when I meet new people, I think they're not going to accept me, or this is what jumps out. Like I used to do this with you a lot, and that's why I try not to tell you everything I'm doing because I'd be like, I got to break to Sammer because I got to let him know how the good stuff I'm doing, so Sammer is proud of me.
That's
And
acceptance, wanting acceptance.
yeah,
or-
what and. It's like, so if it comes up, so like sometimes when I talk to Sammer, I have all these things I want to talk to him, so I don't bring them up now. And it's not because I don't want it, because I want to hear about what Sammer has to say. And now that we're friends, like I need to, because relationships are work, man. I have to call you guys, and I have to make a conscious effort.
Yeah, and pick the phone up.
And and I got to put myself out there, and I also got to be willing to listen. So it's like a tug of war with me, and like I can't. The answer is I don't balance all this stuff by myself, and I have a sponsor. I have great friends. I have various people and mentors, and because I still have days. Y'all know you get that phone call where I'm like, I don't know what to do, and really, you know what? My default, I just want to scream at this guy that's having a rough day. I can't relate to this guy. I'm not able to because I've been stressed out, and
Right.
that's when you guys offer helpful stuff or like take a break or let's talk about this. And what's really helpful is that my friends all remind me that I don't have all the answers, and maybe none of us have the answers, and I gotta continue to be flexible.
Right.
Because as soon as I think I know, and like, because I'm a regiment guy, which is weird, but I like to get in my regiment, and I like to have these patterns, like equations for how to handle everything.
Right.
As you know, with the security, but that's not life. That's not
No, it's
recovery.
not.
There's flexibility, and I gotta be, I gotta be open to that.
Right.
And like, I've been saying like a lot, like we talked about not doing. That's awesome. So what I have,
awesome.
what's great is nowadays, if people aren't for real about their recovery and they're not that we're all perfect, they don't last in my life. And it's not because I kicked them out. I'm like, hey, you're not. No,
Right.
it's because they see that that's what my life's about. And if we're not trying to move forward, those people aren't around anymore. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow too, because I thought it was because they didn't like me. And a couple old timers had to explain to me, no, it's because you're doing the deal.
Right. Right.
And like-minded people will find you. And hey, Dad, maybe you haven't found your people. Just be patient.
Keep coming back.
You've been clean 14 months, 12 months. That's not a long time. Your people, you'll find your people. And eventually I did.
And you still are.
Yeah. And eventually I did. And no matter what, some of my best friends are just a phone call away.
Right.
And that's, I don't know. It's crazy. Like I have friends that will literally drop what they're doing if I was in an emergency, no matter how much we talk. 3 of them are sitting at the table right now.
Boom. Mic drop.
Don't drop the mics.
So you know what? On that same thing, I want to get Rob's opinion on it, on what he's sharing about what is your. Can you relate with that? Basically, what he's saying? Did you go through these same type of struggle? Not, I don't want to say struggles because everyone's different walking through this path. But can you relate on how what he went through on basically, finding new, not acquaintances, but people in recovery? And did you have issues doing that? People that you can depend on. I mean, were you guards up the whole time, or?
Well, no. I mean, the thing is that situations happen in my recovery, and those people were there. you know, and like Tab was saying that like God put these people in my life, you know, at certain times, and like they were there, and you were one of them. You know what I mean? And like in there, you know, there's quite a few that like, you know, when I was really going through it, like they were there. I didn't have to seek them out. They were there. Like they found me. I think my higher power put them in my life for that specific situation. You know what I mean? I mean, like early on, it was, you know, it was just my sponsee family, and I just kind of, you know, did what they did, you know, and you know, because I didn't have any idea on how to stay clean, you know what I mean, and because I couldn't make it past 6 months, you know, and then over time it was like that intimacy thing, like I started like pushing myself away from this group and that group and this group and that group, and like and fast forward, I got almost 5 years. Like everywhere I go, people are like, "What's up, Rob?" You know what I mean? And I'm
Right.
like, oh, what is your name? You know what I mean? Because it's like I've done that so much that like that I'm gonna have to get intimate. You know what I'm saying? Like I've moved around so much that like you know, and like the thing is like I've left like little bits and pieces in different places, you know, and like something doesn't go right, or you know, I don't like something somebody says, or like you know, I got a resentment or something, and like and I'll move around, and then like then that one will die, and then I'll form a new one, you know what I mean? And then like I'll move over here, and like it's like. And now I get to this point where it's like I'm so well rounded that like you know everywhere I go like people know me, and it's like okay, well then, and it wasn't anything that I intentionally did. It was just my natural patterns of behavior that I exhibit, you know. And so like now it's like you know a lot of people know a lot of things about me, so I don't really necessarily think that like people aren't gonna accept me, because it's like
Is
I
that even a concern for you?
no,
Like,
I really don't care. You know what I mean? Because it's like that's on them if they don't, you know, because like I got to be accepting of myself. You know what I mean? And like a lot of times, like you know, like something I struggle with is like I'll meet somebody, you know, and I'm like, I know what they're thinking. You know what I mean? Like I know what they're thinking. They're judging me right now. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know, and I'll start like, you know, and I'll go through these scenarios in my head of like things that like don't even happen. You know, because like the mind of an addict,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we got a hell of an imagination.
oh yes.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So it's like
yes.
you know, I'm like, I know what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, like, and the thing is that like, I've went through so many situations that like I know that that's bullshit. You know, and I know that most of the stuff that's going on in my head is bullshit. You know, so a lot of times I'm not even listening to that guy up there. You know what I mean? It's just when I start listening to him is when I find issues. You know, because like my thinking is not on point, and I don't know if it ever will be. You know, I started using it at a very young age, and that was my identity. But like, you know, now that I got this new one and I'm in recovery, I still got this big area of the way that I think that's still wrapped up in that. Because I had, you know, 20 years of active addiction. I got 4 years of recovery, but like the thing is that like I know on what to do next by situations and stuff like that, instead of like not the things that I think. Because if like if 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 everything happened the way that I thought it was gonna happen, like I definitely wouldn't be sitting here, you know. Everything would have been different. Like the things that I think are gonna happen, you know, like the things that I'm thinking, like most of the time it's bullshit, and like and I know that, you know. But like the thing is that like I don't really care if somebody accepts me or not. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm still gonna be me. You know what I mean? And if they can't accept me, that's not on me.
Right.
It's on them. You know, because
Right,
if I take that in myself, that's a heavy weight, and I don't need that. I got enough of that BS running around in my head. You know what I mean? And I don't want to take on that them not accepting me. You know, and I think the hard part for me is learning to accept others. You know, and it's not just because of you know what they you know who they are, or you know what their background is or anything like that, but it's about situations. You know, like when I hear people talk about certain things, like I study them and I watch them and I wait for them to do like the smallest thing that didn't match what they said, and I'm like, oh, I knew it. You know what I mean? I knew it, and it's like, dude, chill out, man. You know,
Right.
like the longer time goes on, like I'm starting to realize that like more will be revealed. You know, and like it says in the book, you know what I mean? Like more will be revealed. You know, like I could sit here and judge my first year about a lot of things. You know, and fast forward, like I'll go through these situations and I'm like, man, you know, so then it creates
Yeah.
this like it creates this level of like acceptance of others and their process and how they do things, you know, because it was like if I heard somebody sharing in a meeting, it was like, man, they better be walking like that. You know what I mean? Like they better be fucking walking like that. You know what I mean? And I'm watching them, and it's like
Yeah.
we're not perfect people, you know. And like the thing is that I'm realizing too is that like a lot of times when I'm in that like mode, it's like, well, maybe I should be talking then. Because if I'm sitting there studying all them and just all that, and it's like a sick way of thinking. Because like a lot of times, you know, like things aren't gonna go my way, you know, and people aren't gonna act the way that I want them to act. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh, you said this and you didn't do it. Well, I'm just gonna back off from you. You know, but I just got to remember that like life happens. People got issues, mental issues. You know what I mean? And that's something that I didn't really realize or take into any consideration until about this last year. You know what I mean? And I started having anxiety, and I was like, "What in the fuck is this?"
Right.
You know what I mean?
It can take a while for some issues to
Right. You know, and like these things that happen in life that like I don't believe that I'm equipped to deal with. You know, because it's like, if I was equipped to deal with them, I probably wouldn't have used it in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I got all these things that like happen in recovery that like I think that like I'm handling them in the right way, but like they're still there and I'm suppressing them, and that's where all this anxiety comes from. And then I just get nuts, and I'm like, you know what? Just chill. You know, like just chill. Like I get nuts. You know, like that's just how my mind goes. Like it gets nuts up there, and it's just like, you know what? Just chilling. Like it's you know, like, and I gotta go run, or I gotta do something just to chill the fuck out.
Well, you do a lot of physical activities to kind of that's one of your biggest aspects of coping and getting through.
I work out like a psycho,
right?
yeah.
Well,
I work out like a psycho.
I leave you for you to say that, but you're in great shape.
And I do
mean,
say yes. Yeah. Stop.
Yeah. But listen, I'm not hitting on you. You're not that good. No.
I've been over here laughing at you were talking about being in places where you hear people talking about the way that they live, and you're waiting for them to like you know, like hop, skip, and jump around that. I was thinking about the other side of it when people are sharing about some really fucked up shit they've done.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, and I used to judge them. I'm over here like a Judge Judy. You know? I mean, you know, I'm always weary of people that say, "Oh, we're not judging." No, we're fucking judging.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I mean, I'd lie to myself if I said I'm not judging.
But we don't judge.
I don't know if it's human nature or that's just what we do, but I still judge. I don't intend to, but it happens.
What I wanted to say though is that, and really, it's probably happened within the last year and a half. Is that I was judging what I had to come to realize was that I was judging people for a lot of experiences that I hadn't had yet.
Right.
And so I don't necessarily, now it's gotten to the point that I don't necessarily need every experience. It's not about that. What I had to go through is some really fucked up shit clean in order to realize how human I really am, and how much I'm really not walking on water. And so now when I hear like some of the messed up shit that happens in the recovery community, I pray for them, and I'm thankful it's not me.
Right.
Like I didn't understand what that they say. There go I, or something like that. I didn't understand.
For the grace of God.
I didn't understand what that necessarily meant. You know, I understand what it means, but it hadn't moved from my head to my heart yet. You know, so the person that used to sit around and at the same time that I'm like, wow, it took courage. Damn, that's some fucked up shit. Whatever. Like I'm over here like, like it takes a while. It took me a while to really experience that I can go through some serious ass shit that I caused to myself.
Right.
You know, most of the pain that I've experienced in recovery, I caused myself. And I just want to say, like, I was one of those people that used to, man, recovery's painful. Recovery's painful. I used to say, recovery's painful. And what I know now that I didn't know then is that recovery really isn't painful. It's just been my resistance to it.
Right.
My resistance to where it's trying to take me has been very fucking painful. And most of the pain that I've caused myself, especially over the last 3 years, like it was one of these, you know, I've heard it said that insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. And really it evolves to the place where insanity can be doing the same thing over and over. You know what the fuck is going to happen, and you
do it anyways. So
I found myself
knowing
in the place,
damn well
like,
how you got there.
I'm like negotiating with the disease. I'm like, but can I get out with just a little bit of pain, just a little.
And you're
you start,
talking
like,
about 4+ years, and after. I mean, this was happening well into recovery.
Yeah.
Well, in March I'll have 6.
Okay, so
Like-
and you're still dealing with it.
Yeah, it hasn't gone away. Wait. Dealing with what?
Well, no, I'm
Yeah, right. What exactly are you
what
saying?
what I'm saying, it's just what you're saying. In the last year and a half or so, dealing with this, realizing that it's not recovery that's so painful, it's the resistance.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're not talking about year 1 or 2. This is life, and it's happening years into recovery.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Yes. What I was saying about the last year and a half was really the realization that, and I'm just saying for me, and I'm still learning this. Like it's being able to shed the arrogance that I think like I'm above other people. Whether it's not just like intelligence and shit like that. But it's like you hear people talk about mistakes. You're like, I wouldn't have made that fucking dumbass. Like, of course you didn't know that shit was gonna blow up in your face,
Right.
and then to find myself in situations where I knew it was gonna be fucked up, and then nobody else to blame but myself, and and I start to realize that like, even though I'm clean, I can back myself into some vicious
Oh, yeah.
corners.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
vicious
Yep.
corners, right? And then try to use destructive shit to get myself out of it. So it's like I found myself in problems by using not drugs or alcohol, but you're using, and then you think what's going to solve the problem is using. So
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
using problem will be solved by using, and it's like
What a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's called fighting fire with fire, is what the old school term is. You think you're going to put a fire out with fire, and it just gets worse.
It is a lonely place when I can find myself backed into a corner, and I think that it's like I'll feel like I'm on an island.
A corner you put yourself
Yeah.
in. Ultimately, is that what you mean?
Well, yeah. Most corners that I get backed in, I did myself.
Right.
These days, with coming up on 6 years, like I'll say, like you ever heard the phrase like crawl, walk, and then run?
Yeah.
And I used to, I'm talking like multiple years ago, think I was like already at the walking and running phase, like the run. No, I got this shit, right? And I was talking to somebody the other day.
Hang on.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, "Well, where are you on the spectrum?" I'm like, man, I'm maybe just started walking, and I'm wobbly as hell. Like I'm like the little like infant baby that like doesn't. They're like, "Oh, let's see if he can walk." And like, no, I'm still making a lot of mistakes. I'm just grateful today that at least a sizable amount of them are new. You know, not all of them. Some of them I'm like, I'm over and over and over again, but I'll hopefully learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, from my own experience with the few years I have, recognizing it for me has been monumental at this point. Just recognizing when one of the things occurs, and I'm realizing I'm the one who started the fire. Like being able to realize that for me at this point in the game that's been huge, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still trying to figure things out, but to see my part in things, it's I guess Tad said it earlier, tough pill to swallow sometimes, but that's also how we grow.
Right.
Horse pill.
That's all, yeah.
Oh,
And I
dude,
never had a problem swallowing pills in the past, but nowadays it's
Now they
Is it
suck.
identifying it to yourself or to
yeah,
other
well,
people?
just the realization. No, myself. I'm so maybe it's a facade that I put on around other people, but because I act as though I don't really much care when it comes to me making a mistake what others think, as much as when I realize my part in it, and it was my part that did that made the problem in the end. And you articulate it really well by how you said you're backing yourself in a corner, or you're dealing with it by yourself, and it's yourself who put you there.
What I found in that is, and maybe Rob can touch on this too. Once I back myself in the corner and I feel that I'm alone and I'm lonely, and because I do that to myself quite consistently, that if I don't reach out, I'll stay that way. It'll continue, and I just got to reach out. And guess what? Maybe the first person doesn't answer the phone. There's been times where I've talked to my sponsor, I've talked to my friends, I've talked to you, and I still haven't felt better, and I've had to identify that.
Well, and that's what I kind of was. I was gonna try to circle back around that. I know we are gonna bug Rob on it, but when you're at that position, Sammers, when you're at that position where you realize you're the reason for the issue you're dealing with, and you're back in that corner, how do you get yourself out, or how do you get through it? Is it just well, all right, now move forward, and that was a problem, or do you correct it? I mean, do you see what I'm asking? Kind of
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're asking for, and what I want to say is, if I want any hope of actually getting out of it, it's going to come from the help of other people. The reason I say that is because sometimes I can't even recognize that I am the problem.
Right.
And I want to say that, like, self-deception is really hard to spot. Okay? Because when I'm sitting there with a problem and I'm alone and it's swirling in my head, I mean, I'm like judge, jury, executioner, about to go handle the shit.
You're your biggest critic.
And like, I'll verbalize it to somebody and I can hear how fucking crazy it sounds. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't even sound right. But while it's swirling up here, it sounds magnificent. It sounds like
Right.
like Shakespeare. The whole play just plays it out. Like, you should just go drill that dude right in the face. And as soon as I explain it to myself or verbalize it, I'm like, all right, that's really not. It sounds as crazy as I thought it was. But I do want to say, so like, how do I get out of it when I feel backed into a corner? I want to say like it's not always just going to be one tool over another. I want to use the word tool, right? It's
Right.
not always going to be one thing over another. A lot of days I don't necessarily know what the one thing is or what thing's going to be the silver bullet for me. So it's really important developing a multitude of things that help me feel better. The most recent thing that I've incorporated is using the foam roller on my ground, man. Like, I'm talking about like rolling it on my back.
Oh,
and
that's
just-
so awesome.
It's just
Like a
I mean, I'm
Pilates thing, you mean? Or you're down on the ground with a mat and a...
Pilates is a big word that I don't know yet. But
Right, I don't know
talking
what
about
that
a
means
foam
either.
roller. Okay, a
but
foam
you're being on
Cracks
the
your
ground
back.
and-
Like, these things are
Yeah.
magical.
And I don't mean to make the connection like necessarily that's going to be the thing that's going to get me out of it. So much as what I found is that it's similar to what Rob was talking about, and maybe he agrees with this, that there's a form of expression that when I can there's a form of release that I get through doing things physical, and I've just come to find it's almost like through stretching. I don't participate in yoga like I want to, but I stretch every morning. It's probably because I feel, man, I've been feeling every day of 37 lately.
Right.
Every day.
So is it while exercising or doing what you're doing? Is it just a peace in your head, or you get peace, you get serenity while doing this stuff, or is it something about I don't know,
It's
endorphins running while doing this that it?
Maybe it's all of those things, but for me, what it's really been is just giving me some time to just be.
Right.
Identify that there's some tension in my body and really just become a lot more aware of where I'm at, how I feel. I was thinking about. I've just been thinking about a lot of things. You guys have been talking about some really.
I know
great
we
stuff,
we
right?
we jump over so much. Do we have?
No, but we're halfway through the show and I just want to give a shout out to the people who are watching live now, and I do have your comments posted up, and thanks, Rick, for pointing out what the hell with my 45 Superman shirt. That's awesome, buddy. But if you have questions, just post them on that, and I will see them,
We
and
will
I will
abruptly
ask them.
ignore you.
And I will ask.
We'll try to address everything.
And
comes
that
in.
can be for me, Tim, or Rob, and Sammer, just as long as you don't ask him how many tattoos he has, because he says 4, and that's
There's only 4.
Yeah, that are connected over his whole body.
right. It's just one giant tattoo at this point.
Right. So, do we have any questions that came in?
No, just people saying hi and watching, and
Oh, we're
45
grateful.
Superman shirts.
We're
what the
grateful
hell.
for everyone
But
who's tuning in.
Thank you, everyone that's watching, and as this continues to grow, like I said, just shoot us a buzz here, and we'll get you that. I just
All right,
wanted to
well,
give a shout out to our listeners.
I guess we got to do that. With that, well, then you know what? fear of intimacy. I think we touched on a whole bunch of fear of intimacy and went down a few different avenues on that. So what I'd like to talk about though now is walking through the pain, or no, crawling, or
Walking through the pain.
okay,
yeah.
okay. Me,
I mean, if you
it's
gotta
more or
crawl,
less-
man, just crawl, man. Whatever it takes, you know.
how does it go for you? I mean,
Well, you know, the reason I had thought of this was because, you know, like it's the holidays, and you know, a lot of us in recovery, we don't come from really great places, you know, and for me personally, there's a it's like you know, like a broken part of me, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Thanksgiving, and then like my birthday. My birthday
Which
is
is
tomorrow. Yeah,
tomorrow.
tomorrow. And then Christmas, and you know, I have a lot of like, you know, negative emotions associated with you know, like the holidays and whatnot, you know, like 'cause I was abused as a kid and I didn't have a great childhood. And, you know, like a lot of times, like around this time of year, like, you know, I really like I sit in self pity, you know, or like that was like the general like pattern of behavior like during the holidays, you know, and like for years I just wanted to kill myself. And, you know, many a times, you know, that was very close, you know, like the situation that led me into recovery is I overdosed on Christmas in 2015, you know, and, you know, like birthdays, you know, I really was just on a mission to die. And, you know, and I just say that like because people are, you know, there's probably a lot of people out there that are in some pain right now, you know, and like hopefully I can like, you know, give them some encouragement, you know, just to walk through it and just hang on, you know. I know for me and in my recovery, I've went through some pretty painful things, you know, that you know, I had to walk through that. Like I don't believe that I was equipped to handle them, you know.
Right.
And
in recovery, you're talking about.
yeah, in
Yes,
recovery,
okay.
you know, because the only way that I dealt with pain before was just use, put
Right,
something
yeah.
on it, put something on it, put something on it.
Mm.
Well, you know, now it's like, you know, like when I first got clean, you know, my sponsor was like, hey, you know, just make sure you're prepared for the storm, you know, and that's what
Did
I
you
try
even know what he was even?
I didn't.
Or did
I
you have
didn't.
an idea of what was to come, or do you just
You
kind
know,
of shoo
I
it off?
I didn't necessarily. You know, I had an idea of what he meant, but like I didn't know exactly what he meant until I felt it. You
Mm.
know, and there's been plenty of storms. You know, and you know, like the first time I I got with my sponsee family, you know, because that was like, you know, I was early in recovery, you know, and we had a pretty eventful night, and we're not going to go into that. It's probably
If you
not.
want to, go
No, I don't think we need to do that.
If you think
any-
it's gonna help the
no,
listener,
it's
that's,
probably
that's
not.
the goal.
It's
Okay.
not podcast appropriate, I suppose. You know, but
But you know what the goal is?
it was an
what you're
awesome
doing.
time. It was an
Yeah.
awesome time,
Okay.
you know. But like honestly, like you know, it helped me walk through it, you know. And the thing is that like when you get to a spot where like you just went through some painful shit, and you know you feel that peace internally, you know, like for me, like how I feel right now is that like, you know, like I'm finally over like the events that had happened to me the last couple of years. Like I'm not over it, but like I feel peace internally,
Mm.
and I'm not struggling on like, you know, what I should do or how I should feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a situation that happened, and like walking through it was very painful for me, you know. And the thing with pain is that like pain is an opportunity for growth, you know, and then they call that growing pains, you know.
Oh, well put.
So, and that's the thing is it's just that it's painful, you know, and it's some things that like, you know, a lot of us are unaware of it. I know me, I was really unaware of like of how my emotions really affected me and how I really handled things in life, because for 20 years I used, and that was pretty simple for me to figure out because that's what I was wired to do, you know. But now it's like, you know, I go through painful things, and you know, I go to a meeting and I share about it, you know. And I mean, just these last couple of years were just terrible for me, you know, like internally, and like I had like an internal struggle, like a war going on inside me that like I didn't feel peace, like I didn't even feel that my heart was beating right,
Mm.
you know, like I had just like this anxiety in my chest, you know, and just to kind of walk through it was like very painful, you know, like the people in my life, man, like God put some really good people in my life that like helped me walk through this pain, you know, and sat and listened to me share about it for 2 years straight, you know, and it wasn't just one thing, it was one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Like my life fell apart in a matter of like a week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then like all of a sudden we got this pandemic, you know, and they're saying we're gonna shut down meetings, and then all of a sudden like that connection's gone, and I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? And then like, my roommate died, man, and he was like a big part of my recovery early on, man. And like, it's just everything hit me like a ton of bricks, man. And it was like, what am I gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like I had no idea what to do. Like internally, that's how I felt.
This all hit at about 2 years, was it? Or
No, it started at 3. Everything was great, you know what I mean? And then like, man, at 3, like some real traumatic shit happened, and I went to meetings every day, and I worked out every day, and like I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't sleeping barely, and then that in turn affected my emotions, and like, anger really started coming up, man, I was like, is there more? Like, is like, can
Right,
life
what's next?
can life
What-
just stop happening to me for just a little bit so I can get some fucking peace?
Right.
But like, just recently, man, it kind of all started out with this little hey, my friend here, Mr. Matt K, was like, hey, I want you to come to this business meeting at 2218. You know what I mean? And it all started with that, and that's when things started to turn around for me.
When you
like,
start getting way more involved.
well, yeah, that, and like that inner peace that like, hey, you know what? Like, these situations that happen to me, it's okay. I don't got to be angry about it. I don't got to dwell on it. I don't got to sit in self-pity anymore. Like, it's okay, and I can get on with my life, and like actually feel at peace. Because like in a nutshell, that's basically what I'm after in recovery, because I never really had felt in peace in my life. Anger is a big character defect of mine, because
Do you have a new outlook on that anger, kind of?
yes, I do, and you kind of threw me off.
I'm so sorry.
It's
What a
okay. No,
host.
it's cool.
What
It's
a
cool.
host.
Let
It's
me
cool.
ask you this, Rob. When you say like what you're looking for in your life is peace, so
Yeah.
what is it like? What does it look like, or rather, like, how do you know when you get there? Or because the quick snippet is like a lot of us, and I'll just say me, I didn't recognize peace when I got it,
Yeah.
and so
Well, so like externally, like on the outside, I don't know what it looks like, but I know that internally, where it's like I'm content with life and how it is, where it's like I don't want anything to be different, I don't need anything to change, and I don't want to be somewhere else or somebody else. It's like I can breathe, I can sleep, and like, when things happen, I'm not like, rah, you know what I mean? Like, I can actually just, okay, this is what's happening right now, and like I could either handle it this way or I can handle it this way, but I'm gonna handle it this way because this is life, and it's okay. Like, where I'm okay with things, because a lot of times, like, that's where the conflict comes, is when I'm not okay with things, and like, peace to me just looks like just being okay. And for me, it's not nothing glorious. I don't need to, like, in the beginning of recovery, I was like, man, I can't wait till I have 2 years. I'm gonna get this job. I'm gonna get this relationship. I'm gonna have this Harley.
A lot of that happened.
Well, yeah, and I lost it. And I got it back, and I lost it again, man. You know what I
That's
mean?
real.
In
That's
recovery.
real.
In recovery, yeah,
In
and then like my
recovery.
whole world fell apart, and all these things that I really had thought at one point, like, things were really coming together, and this is where I was supposed to be, because that's what I had in my head, this trajectory of how recovery is supposed to be, and it all fell apart in like the matter of like a month.
I mean, a blanket statement, but life kept showing up.
Man,
on its own
yo,
terms.
hey, man,
Not
it
how
violated
we
me.
And then you got
life
through
straight
it,
up
like you're
violated
saying,
me.
That's what you're getting at, is how you're getting through all that.
Well,
walking through it all.
Yeah, walking through it, because like, the thing is that like there was a point where it was like all these things happen, right, and these people would try to give me words of encouragement, and I couldn't take it. I was like, I don't want to fucking hear it.
Right.
I don't want to hear God's testing you. I don't want to hear none of that shit, because I don't want to be fucking tested right now.
Right.
And the best advice I got was from a mutual friend of ours, and it was just like, I don't have anything to say that's going to make you feel better other than I'm here for you. And those words are something that like I still hold in my heart, because I remember that specific moment and exactly how I felt at that moment. And it was like, man, like that's just it, and it's like, and when I see people like that are really in pain, it's like, man, like, I feel you, like, that's the thing, is like, like a lot of times, man, people can feel our pain, especially in this program. You know what I mean? When you come to a meeting and you're in tears, man, and you're like, you can't even breathe, man. You want to scream, you want to cry, you just want to die,
Right.
And it's like us addicts, like, we know, we get it, because it's that storm that I was just talking about. That's like what that is, you know what I mean? And the thing is, it's like, man, it's like the growing pains, and like, sometimes like things are not going to be okay, you know, and sometimes things are really going to not seem okay for a really long time, you know, and I didn't know when I was going to feel okay with everything, you know, and it's like, I mean, just recently, like, you know, I've been feeling good, and that's really all I need right now, you know, is just to feel good. I don't care about feeling excellent. I don't want to be like, you know, top of the mountain, woohoo, you know what I mean? It's just like I'm okay, you know, like these holidays, man. I got things to do on these holidays, right? That like I come from this broken place, and like, you know, that where family wasn't a thing, you know what I mean? And like it was just all dysfunctional. Where like people like, hey, man, you know, like we're having fry bread over here, and hey, come on over here and get you a plate, you know. And then I gotta go to this meeting, man, you know. And then you know my friends are putting something on Facebook for my birthday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the number one day of the year that I wanted to kill myself. You know what I mean? Like that's something that needs to be spoken for on me. You know what I mean? And it's like that feels really good. And it's like, you know what? Like things don't have to be that way. Like I don't have to feel the same way I always felt. You know, and like, and that's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't.
Oh, you get me choked up there, bud. Jeez.
Right.
I mean, honestly, man, you know, it's something I'm like, man, I got gratitude again. You know, because there was really a moment where I wasn't grateful for a fucking thing. You know, and I was always told a grateful addict will never use, and I'm like, well, I might as well just fucking use. You know what I mean? And then there's that thing going on inside of me that's just like, you know what, man? Like nobody cares, and that's that disease lying to me, telling me that nobody cares when really hundreds of people care.
Genuinely.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's my disease lying to me. You know, and that's me starting to believe it. You know, and that's a painful place. You know what I mean? And the thing is that like, you know, like this 2218 being open, you know, I would come to these meetings and I would share about that, like where I'm at. Like that's specifically where I'm at. Like I don't feel like going on anymore. You know what I mean? And there's people like, hey, you know, like I would miss you, you know, and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, maybe I'll hang on for just a little longer. You know what I'm saying? And just like those simple words that like, hey man, you know, like I would miss you, you know, and like I care, you know, and the thing is that like for me, you know, a lot of people showed me that they cared. They didn't just tell me, they showed me, you know, and it was like, and it's something that like it doesn't go unnoticed. You know what I mean? It's something that like, and it in turn is helping me becoming a better human being. You know, because a lot of times, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, I struggle just like anybody else, you know, and the thing is, it's like now it's like I'm just kind of open to how life's gonna go because I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm not in control of it. I can. The only thing that I can control is like the way that I react to it, you know. And like, that's the thing is like in my head how I'm gonna react, and like, and when I get with another addict and they're like, hey man, you know, I'm here for you, and then it calms me down, you know, and then I start to feel that like internal peace that's like, well, wait a minute, you know. Like sometimes, like you just gotta fucking hang on.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was something that a tech told me when I was in treatment. That like, you know, there's gonna be a time where you don't know what the fuck to do, and all you gotta do is hang on. You know what I mean? And like, and it you know, it kind of made sense there. But like once like the longer I got into recovery, man, it was like, dude, you know, like especially man with my roommate dying, man, that broke my heart, man. That was like my little brother, man. You know
that was
what
like
I mean?
the tip of the iceberg with what was to come.
Man, yeah, exactly, man. All the things that had happened, and it was just like. You know, like now it's like, you know, like at 12 o'clock is gonna be my birthday, man. And
Damn
like,
right
you know,
it is.
like people are coming over in the morning, man. Like, you know,
Yes,
for,
we
for
are.
a meeting
Absolutely.
and like breakfast and like,
Hey,
you
Rob,
know what I mean?
live on air. Happy early birthday, bud. You're the
Beat me
champ.
to
Man,
it.
thanks.
Yeah, I
you know?
did. I cut right in there.
You know,
And
and-
it's a good, and you're looking forward to it
Yeah, big time. you
versus
know?
what it was at
Big
one
time.
point.
And you're
know?
going to remember it all.
Right. Yeah. Me and my facade, I might cry.
Oh,
you know?
shut up. You and your facade. I got your facade.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, sometimes, man, there's gonna be a point where you don't know what the fuck to do. You know what I mean?
We got our first question.
Uh-oh.
It comes from a good friend of ours,
Uh-oh.
another one of your sponsees,
Uh-oh.
JP.
Uh-oh.
What up? Big shout out to my
Killers.
Yeah,
sponsee brother.
big shout out to JP, man. I got to take a moment for that because he was he's been on a podcast before me, man. And
Yeah.
big shout out to JP. He's doing big things.
So
Yes, he
Hope
is.
dealers.
we're going to ask both of you guys, you two, and so what component fuels you to keep your recovery going? Rob first, then Sammer.
What component?
Yep. What component fuels you to keep you and your recovery going?
I'd say, man, a big component is like knowing that like there's gonna be somebody out there that is not gonna know what to do. That's just gonna come from a really broken spot that like is gonna be in a specific spot that like I'm gonna happen to be there, and like that moment of where I can help them believe that like there is a life for themselves. That's what like keeps me going. And then when I see fast forward and when I see things happening, like for instance, JP, things like that, and my old roommate Joe, Sponsy Joe, having a baby and a family, and like when I get to see that,
The growth.
That's what keeps me going, even at like the darkest moments when I see somebody else succeed, man. And it's like, wow, because we come from a spot that's like, where we come from and like where we end up is that's just it's insane, man. But in a good way, you know what I mean? Because like we don't have to, because we have three options when we use. And we all know those: jails, institutions, and death.
Oh my.
But we get clean and like we stay clean for a while, man. And like the possibilities are endless. And I've seen it, and it's like, whoa, what, dude? Like, that was you a year ago? You know what I mean?
So helping
like,
a fellow addict, basically.
yeah, we'll just being there in the time of need, man, because that's something that, like, really holds a spot in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, that moment, like, where I can see, like, the hope coming back into somebody's eyes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
that
probably,
light
like,
bulb,
one of the biggest heartwarming things for me, and it, in turn, makes me a better human being in turn.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
what about you,
put.
Sammer?
What was the question? I was so engrossed in what Rob was talking about. How do I keep my recovery going?
What component fuels you to keep going in your recovery?
Well, I want to say, I want to separate the two, because I think not using and staying clean is different from recovery. And I also want to say that my motivations for both can be different.
right.
I want to say that, well, let me first say, like, so what keeps me clean? Sometimes it's that I know what using brings. Sometimes it's that I just want to say, like, the drugs that people are using these days are fucking dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Like,
yes.
I never
One
thought.
And done.
I already, even with 5 and some change years clean, I'm already sounding like the people from the 80s sounded. They're like, you're not doing cocaine when I was
right.
Like, I swear every adult through the 80s was damn near Scarface. They're like, that ain't cocaine.
Yeah.
Right,
And now I'm
right,
like,
right.
I found myself in a place where I'm like, damn, like, so part of it is I know where using brings me. Part of it is just flat out like I don't want to kill myself with the shit that's out there. And if I'm being for real, part of what keeps me clean is vanity. Like, I've been talking so much recovery, dropping so much recovery shit. What, I'm gonna go use and come back? Like, there's a large part of this that it's not just understanding what the fuck you're talking about. It's like the application. So it's, when I say the vanity, it's like I've been talking so much about recovery that, like, if I go out there, I don't know if I would make it back, just the sheer shame of it.
Right.
But I do want to say, like, the component, what you said, the component about recovery, keeping me recovery. And I heard it a lot in what Rob said earlier when you were talking about just being okay. And so I'm thinking about, like, my baseline coming up. Like, I no longer, it's not often that I dip into the real bad lows anymore. Like, my baseline has come up, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm okay most days.
Yeah.
And so what I was thinking about is that what I heard you talking about, Rob, was hope. I heard when you see hope come on in someone's eyes, or what I was thinking about was for myself, really, that I don't necessarily have to think that tomorrow is going to be this amazing day. I just got to wonder what it's going to be like. I just have to be curious about what tomorrow is going to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be better than today. But just wondering, like, what is tomorrow going to bring? And so a lot of that is, I just heard so much in what everyone's talked about. The thing I was thinking about, that I was actually thinking about what the most important thing in recovery is to me, or what the greatest feeling I feel is, or what the greatest gift in recovery has been. And what I was thinking about was when I wake up in the morning and I don't have that sudden feeling of panic. Not like, oh, where am I? Or, it's not so much that, it's that sudden feeling like like you went to bed and you knew you used all the shit. And you wake up and you just wonder if you got to get one more. That sudden
Yes.
feeling of panic. Like I don't have that anymore.
Mm.
Like when I wake up, I feel peace. I feel okay. Like I wake up, I don't come to.
Right.
Right.
You're not scrambling. You're not. Yeah.
And so a lot of what fuels me in recovery, the drugs did me dirty, man. My memory is terrible. But,
I heard that.
you know,
Keep
What are we
coming
talking
back.
about again?
it's just that it's just that tomorrow can be different. That's
Absolutely.
what continues to push me forward. Is that tomorrow can be different.
I love that. The fact that I don't let one day. It's just a bad day, and that's a whole new aspect. I got another.
Another what question?
Yep. And,
All
and
right.
we're just gonna say it's from a listener, and my biggest struggle right now is not getting what I need out of meetings. And so this isn't going to be a question. It's going to be something they want you two to touch on. So my biggest struggle right now is not getting what I need out of meetings. I'm having thoughts about using, which is why I came tonight. I knew what would happen if I didn't. I don't want to throw away all my time coming up on 2 years. And go, either one of you.
Well, I know for me, whenever I'm not getting what I need out of meetings, I switch it up. You know, and the bad thing about what's going on with the whole COVID and everything is there's not a lot of variety. You know, and it also goes back to like what I was saying about just hanging on. And I'm not saying that like, you know, that's not a super profound answer, but you know, a lot of times like, you know, switch it up, maybe get around some different people. You know, it'll give you a different perspective. You know, maybe try getting around some people that you normally wouldn't mix with. You know, and for me, like I do that a lot. Like I'm pretty well rounded. You know, I got different, you know, backgrounds and everything like that. And it gives me a different perspective. And it's like, and then I start thinking of me less and start trying to, you know, understand other people's point of view and stuff like that. So, you know, I would say, man, just hang on. And another thing I'd like to say is that like, the fantasy of my disease doesn't match the reality of my life. Like I know that when I think about using,
Bam.
I know that like I think about it right, and like in my prior relapses in my life, like I think about it right, and it's gonna be this glorious thing, and I end up relapsing, and it's like I end up in this shitstorm, and it's like, how did I get here? You know what I'm saying? And it's like I just wanted to point that out, that like a lot of times for me when I'm thinking about using, it's just a fantasy, and I can set that apart from how I'm living my life today. So
You got any thoughts on this, Sammer?
I'm just thinking about what Rob's talking about. Like the disease has the ability to make using sound so sexy.
right,
It's like
Yeah.
glorious.
it paints this illusion that
Right.
like, you know, this time's gonna be different, or like, you know, if you just get high, you're gonna get the relief that you're looking for. And what I've come to find is the reality of it is that the relief that I'm looking, check this out. What I've come to find is that the relief that I'm looking for, the only place that I'm gonna find it is in that thing that I'm avoiding the most. And so like the question or whatever it was is that, you know, 2 years in, struggling, not finding what you need out of meetings. And I just want to say, like, I was told this isn't like a 12-step podcast, or it's not like a particular, it's like recovery based. And so what it makes me think is that, you know, although myself, the tool, you know, I found a program, and a 12-step program is what worked for me.
Okay.
It's not the only way to recovery. And so what I would say is that if you're not getting what you want out of meetings, you're going to have to find what it is that you're looking for outside of meetings. You're going to have to do something.
Right.
So I like Rob's ideas. Like if you already attend meetings, try switching up meetings. If you already, you know, try speaking to new people. Outside of that, I would say like find other activity. It's difficult now because
COVID.
man,
Right.
COVID-19 really changed a lot of things. But what I know is that I can have a laundry list of excuses, but at the end of the day, my recovery is my responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's like if you know, if the plug didn't have the dope I was looking for, it's not like I put down the phone. No, I kept going.
Yeah.
And so
that's
right
true.
now, this, you know, staying clean, let me just say, staying clean has to come first.
Yep.
All the
Right.
time.
Like there will be no anything else if I'm not clean, and I mean, I'm talking about me, I don't know about anyone else, but like that becomes the one and only thing that I'm about when I'm getting high.
Yeah, that's
There's
it.
a guy, Paul Birch, always said this. I heard it every day for about year and a half from Will Work. He'd always say, if your recovery doesn't come first, everything else you love comes last.
So
And that hits home for a
Right.
lot.
let me just, we got another question. Let me just say one thing to that. I want to add on to what you were, so like, I agree with what Rob and Sam are both said wholeheartedly. And for myself, like, that's why in my recovery, I've tried to, when I don't like meetings or I'm not getting things, I've tried to make what I would want for other people.
Yeah, you
that's
go
what,
above and beyond to
that's
do
what
that,
I've
Pat.
tried to do with certain groups that I'm involved in at this 2218. I've tried to make it all inclusive, and I'm not too blind to see that I have shortcomings. That's why it's beautiful that I have, like in some of the projects I'm in, I have Tim, I have a sponsor, I have other people, because it does really take all of us, because we all have skill sets, teams, and so I've tried to make it the recovery, be the friend that I would have wanted in my recovery early to people, and it's not always possible, but I've tried my best.
Well, you bring up a really good point, and let me just say, I know this is like positive and everyone's encouraging. I mean, the person that question, I'm wondering, like, what are they looking for in the meetings that they're going to? Because I just want to say that, like, you know, I was the kind of person that I would go to meetings and maybe not go back to that meeting, and, you know, and why aren't you going to the meeting? There's not really, you know, and then I said it to somebody. I said, I'm not going to that meeting because there's not much recovery in that meeting. And they said, well, if you went to a meeting and there wasn't much recovery, then how come you didn't bring it?
Boom.
And it was like, you know, it's
Like,
that
what's your
whole thing.
responsibility
Like,
to
you
it?
know, you can sit and talk about the problems all day, but I want to know, like, what are you gonna do about
a
it?
part of the
What's the
solution.
solution? And
Yes.
and so at the end of the day, I think recovery is a lot about action.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
about this. It's not like recovery is not just. It's not like theory. You don't really talk about theory. You actually have to do some shit. And so, you know, like,
yeah.
I'm not really one of those people that are like, you know, I'm working on my. No, what the fuck are you doing? You're
Right.
working on yourself.
Boom,
What
boom,
are
boom.
you
Yeah.
doing?
Well.
I want to know. You're taking some time to like work on yourself. Well, like what? What are you doing? I want to know.
Right.
The person that sent that said, thanks. I really needed to hear this.
Well, then thank both of you guys. I appreciate you. That's what this podcast is about, getting help out there to where people have questions, and hopefully we can help. And it sounds like we have on that. I
So-
think Rick had a question.
Yep, Rick.
And
from
this is
Facebook,
on a
our
lighter
friend
note,
Rick.
yeah.
So if you post on Facebook, we will say your name. We won't say your last name.
If you don't want-
send me a personal message,
Yeah.
I will not say your name.
Yeah, or just let it be known
so-
you don't want it said.
And if you don't want your name said, please say, don't say my name, and we won't. But so our buddy Rick, good friend of all of ours here, wants to know, what has been your best moment in recovery? Tim, why don't you answer this first?
Oh boy, how much time we got?
Let's
Oh,
make
we
it
only have
brief,
t-
'cause we
only
got
have
20 minutes.
Well, we got about 5 minutes before
We got
do a
about
little
5
wrap-up
minutes
deal.
before we got to promote next week's show. And then at the end of each show, we'll get into that.
Yeah. So my greatest moment in recovery has been at about, I think it was about 13 months in recovery at the point, and it's gonna get dark and then it'll get light, guys. So bear with me. There was a major death in my family, very major, monumentally major, however you want to word it. I'm not the wordsmith like some of us here, but I'm working on it. So
What's a wordsmith?
Isn't that a rapper?
So, here we go. There was a major death in my family, okay? And throughout this, my family, it was terrible. Needless to say, someone young died who died way before their time. And it's something we can all relate to. Throughout this, though, I didn't realize it till after, but I ended up being able to be present for my mother, my father, my family, people that were grieving. I was able to be there for them. I was present. I got to help. I was responsible. I was dependable. These are things that it wasn't part of who I was even before I started using. So this is something that it was something that I acquired. I learned. I was shown by you guys in this fellowship on how to live and how to be there for someone. And through this death, I found out a part of who I am and what I'm capable of. And that was to be present. So the most thing, the one of the best, like I said, I'll try not to make it so dark. So the one of the best thing that's happened for me in recovery is that moment where I realized, shit, I'm dependable. I can be present when I need to be present. I can be there for someone else, and I'm not the focus of it. I realized that bondage of self lifted for maybe that few days or that week, and I was able to be there for someone beside myself when it was something really dark going on. But honestly, I look back at that as, for me personally, it was the biggest part of growth, and it was a great moment in my life that I can always just cherish because I was able to be there for someone else. In a nutshell. Next.
Thanks, Tim. Rob, what about you? What was your best moment in recovery?
Ah, Jesus, just one, huh?
Don't
I know,
say when
this
you
is
met
tough.
me.
Just stop.
This is tough.
Right.
You know, I'd say probably the most rewarding moment that I've had in my recovery is I went to a sponsee's family function, and there was a moment where everybody was gone. Everybody went in the other room, and it was just me and his mom. You know, and his mom looked at me and said, "I just wanted to say thank you that I was getting ready to bury my son, and I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you're doing for him." And you know really at a moment like that, like, how can you go back to using when somebody just expressed that to you?
Yeah.
You know, that just
Right.
that was probably one of the most rewarding moments I had in my recovery. So maybe the best. It's hard to put something on it, but that really was like, because like when everybody left the room, I was like, oh, I got scared, right? I was like, oh, because
What's
it
she
was
gonna do?
that was just powerful, and just the amount of gratitude in her voice when she said that to me was just like, whoa, like, wow, like that's really me doing this too. I mean, I didn't do it, right? But like, just to think of like like who I thought I was and who I wanted you to think that I was, and hearing that was like, okay, well, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Well, maybe things are different for you, man, and it's it's just that part of growth that was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like that was
awesome.
definitely
That's awesome.
that was huge.
Sammer, your best moment in recovery?
Man, I was sitting and thinking about this the entire time. That just so much has happened. I was thinking about the external stuff, but really and I think that's part of the change that happens or has happened for me. That's part of the recovery process is it's like I've acquired some things externally, but it's that feeling that I get internally sometimes, right? It's just a tough one. So much happens. Just so much happens. What I want to say is like the thing I'm incredibly grateful for is that that I can be thankful for the bad times.
Wow.
Like I used to be so scared of the bad times, but I've been through enough storms clean that I know that if I don't feel better, it's not over yet, but there will be an ending to it, Like I just Rob said it numerous times, like you just got to hold on. And so I don't really know. There's just been some moments, I got accepted to grad school in May. And it was, that's just one of the things I'm really proud of because, fuck, man, I got moments. I was just,
Right.
it was the first time because there's feelings that get uncovered,
Right.
and I don't always know I have those feelings, and so. There was something about this grad school interview, man, that like I was super nervous. And I wanted to like send the representative to talk all the good shit.
Right.
And it was like, I was like, I was feeling cooped up in my apartment. So I took a walk around Powderhorn Park and I was like, you know what? Like the only reason they're interviewing to get in is because of, who you are and how you are. So if you're just you, like it'll be enough and it'll be okay. And if you don't get accepted to grad school, at least you knew that you were true to yourself, to thine own self be true, right? And so so whatever, I got the interview and then I was accepted, but in that feeling, like I was proud of myself. Like it wasn't like unhealthy
genuine.
pride.
It
It
was
was like I
genuine.
was proud of myself. Like
Right.
I didn't need to be approved of by anybody. I didn't need to be validated by anybody. I didn't need acceptance from anybody in that moment. Like I was just enough. And so, I don't know if there's like a moment that happens, right? But it's like I just wanted to feel fucking okay. And in that moment,
right.
I felt okay and I felt like enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was my moment. How about you, Ted?
Thank you, Sammer. That was awesome.
Nice. Good job, Sammer. I was thinking, and there's been a lot of times, and like profoundly for me, it was this. So I had my recovery job, and I thought that was going to be my life. And I was making enough money, and some stuff happened. And so I ended up having to do something else, and I was in this deep-seated depression. And out of that, I got asked by a friend, Matt, and I roped my sister in, and we all roped Robin, and to start this group and help them out with it due to my experience here at the Alamo Club, and it's been really cool. And that was really, so I was in this depression, and there's been moments where I've been in that, and so for this month before, as I'm starting this, like I'm here doing one thing at night, and like so this would have been the time normally that I would have gone back out there because I thought about it, but I couldn't convince myself that it was gonna be worth it. And then I get my new sponsor, I start getting my new friend. So what I learned in this moment is that things are going to be rough. Life's going to happen. I'm going to have these dark moments, and I can make plans all I want, and they're not going to go the way I want them to.
Right.
But guess what? There are other people out there like me, and there are other people that if they don't have the answers, dude, they're going to be there for me, and they're going to help me out. And that was my best moment. And I used to say that in meetings. I used to say that to people, but I never really believed it was for me. I was still a little unique until it happened. And here we are now. And is my life perfect? Absolutely not. Not even close. But you know what? I know that it's going to be all right. And and you know what? What's all right today, not all right today, might seem fine tomorrow.
Right.
And you know what? Maybe it helps someone else. Maybe it's just me that it helps. But whatever the case, like I'm going to get through it.
That's awesome.
And when I feel that I'm alone, I'm not. Look at this table. Look at the people reaching out.
Right.
So segueing into we're going to promote our next show.
Yep.
And then because it's the attitude of gratitude, we're all going to talk about something that we're
Yeah, we'll
grateful
end it with
for,
a little
obviously.
fun, grateful. I'm grateful for this, that. So
Rob already knew this was coming because I tried to cop out of Thanksgiving yesterday. We did 10 things we were grateful, and I said 4, and I said, you got to tune into the podcast if you want to hear any more.
yeah, that was a good cliffhanger. I heard.
Right.
I heard all about
Right.
that.
So next week, our guests are going to be
We're gonna get Chelsea H and Leon Q, the couple.
the recovery couple. People call them the recovery it couple. That a lot of people say about these two. I want to be like Chelsea and Leon, and so they're gonna. It's mostly girls, but
But
anyway,
they're gonna come and talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. They're gonna talk about relationships and what have you in
and how-
recovery. And oh, stop it, Rob.
and how it's not all sunshine and daisies, and there
Yeah.
are struggles, and it gets
Yes.
real. And Leon's big into connectivity, so he's going to talk about that additionally. And Chelsea's going to touch on sponsorship because that's her favorite thing. She just
Right.
wanted to let everyone know that was what she was adamant about. So that's what we're going to be talking
We'll
about
try our
next
best to
week.
top this show, but this monumental here.
Oh, this was great. You guys were
I think we kicked it off pretty good. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sammer and Rob, you guys were great.
yeah. There'll be reoccurring guests on our
So,
show for sure.
Absolutely.
That was the plan. That's why we chose to have these guys first. Was
we wanted you guys to
the
get to know
chemistry?
them.
Yep. And you guys will hear more from them, whether it's call-ins or updates, what have you. This isn't the last you're hearing from either of them. So just know that is a case in hand. And with that said, I'm going to kick off what I'm grateful for because I think we're at that point. We'll just spin around the room and kind of popcorn it around and tell us what we're grateful for.
Yep.
Bottom line, I'm grateful for the opportunities that have been given to me since my recovery started. That first and foremost, I am so grateful for opportunities that I can be aware of and knowledgeable that we have opportunities
and we take those opportunities. I've taken these opportunities and I've ran with them. Whether they fizzle out or not, I'm so grateful for the opportunities that have been presented to me in recovery. Pass.
You know, I definitely have to express my gratitude for the people that are in my life today. You know, a shout out to all my sponsees, man. I love you guys. Maybe you two are sitting here, but there's, you know, quite a few others that, like, you know, I love you guys. You guys help me stay clean, you know, and you know, like the friendships that I've got, you know, like my roomies. I love you guys, man. And, you know, thank you for being there for me. And, yeah, to like two great friendships, you know, because I truly believe that like I wouldn't be able to still continue on if it wasn't for the people that are in my life. So just wanted to express my gratitude and tell y'all that I love you.
Thank you, Rob.
I love you too, Rob.
Sammers.
Yeah.
I really am I mean, I got so much to be grateful. I'm grateful for my family, and I'm grateful my dad is back in my life right now, and I'm grateful. I'm in this moment. I really am I'm grateful for the struggle. Like, I'm grateful not everything comes easy. I'm grateful that I really have learned that, like, the good shit you really got to work for. I'm grateful that for perseverance. Like, I'm grateful I didn't fucking give up when I wanted to. And there's been a lot of those times,
Right.
man. Like, I'm really, really grateful. I'm really grateful that, like, you know, the it's really darkest before the dawn. You know, like the sun will come up, man. You just gotta hold the fuck on. And so, I don't know. I'm just grateful in this moment, man, that I didn't give up when I wanted to, and there was a lot of those times. And I'm just incredibly proud of you, and I'm so thankful for the program. This is just a really cool idea to see a fruit come from the tree, right? Like, it only ripens when it's ready.
Right.
And so I'm just really interested to see where this goes, and I'm thankful that you had me on.
Thank you, Sammers. He's going to tell us what he's grateful for, and we're going to hit you guys with another
We
surprise
got a buzzer
question.
beater question.
But what are you
after
grateful
I'm
for?
Man, I was thinking about this, and I just about started crying. I'm grateful, and this might be the first time I've actually truly been able to be honest about this and say it. I'm grateful for my life today.
Boom.
Like, I went from, I died twice, and I wanted that, but then when that happened, nope, don't want to die, to I don't know what I want, to, like, I know my life's gonna change. I know things are gonna happen, but I couldn't. For the first time ever, I'm truly saying this, and I mean it with honesty. I wouldn't want my life to be any different than it is right now. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than sitting here on a podcast with you guys, and this is so freaking cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm grateful for the opportunities, and this is all because of recovery.
Yep.
I would have never done this shit if we did, it would have been all messed up.
Yeah, it would have been a little.
Can you imagine if we were all
Oh man.
four people talking at the same time
played
and
it back, and we'd have been like
shadow people and people out the windows.
Like,
and-
they're out there.
All right, so we got a buzzer beater. You know what? We do only have a few minutes, so kind of burning desire answering. Rob, what is recovery to you?
Was this question just directly to me?
I'll hit Sammers with this as
okay.
well.
What is recovery to me?
What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to
mean
me?
to you?
What does recovery mean to me? Yeah, that's a hard question. It means everything to me. You know? Because it has to. If not, my life doesn't exist without it.
Word.
You know what I mean? It's recovery is like it's possibility. You know, like I said, there's only three possibilities out there: is jails, institutions, and death. And like recovery is like possibility. It's endless.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like, recovery is everything to me. You know, even when everything's going wrong, like recovery is still everything to me because like I
Right.
wouldn't have a life period if it wasn't for
We
recovery.
get to have a life because of recovery.
Exactly. So
Sammer, what does recovery mean to you?
I think on the surface it means a change in my attitudes and behavior. But at the end of the day, I think it's I've thought about that a lot of times. Like recovery, the word recovery means you get back something that was lost.
Recovery.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a, it's a return maybe to something that I didn't know I have. It's that feeling you get when you wake up and you know that you're going to be okay. It's that it's waking up before the sun comes up and there's just silence and you feel like the world is just yours. Like, I don't know, recovery is a lot of what Rob said. It's just endless possibilities.
Yeah.
Like, I don't just have dreams of things that I want to do. It's like, what do I want to do, and am I willing to invest my time in it? Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Like, it's really that idea. Recovery is the belief, and like truly believing that I'm capable of anything I put my mind to.
There's a reason why they answered these questions.
Right.
Do you want to take a shot at? We got 3 minutes, Tad.
Absolutely not, but I will anyways. So it's hard to follow these two because they're so great. You know what? So recovery, when Rob said, it's everything and anything, that's absolutely it. And what recovery means to me right now is going to change. It's not going to mean the same thing to me, but there's always this possibility. Today recovery means I get to have a podcast. Thanks to other people in recovery, thanks to other people that I've done stuff. I get to have my sponsor on a podcast. Yeah, and Tim was real quick. I was having a bad day. Or I don't know what I was doing, but Tim was like, "Remember, you get to." He turned all my words.
Get tos.
Yep, he turned all my words around on me. That I was talking to, and he's like, "Remember, you get to do this.
Yeah. You get to be pissed off. You get to be ornery. You get to do these things."
And straight up, when I was using, I didn't get to do anything. Something the drug was pulling
your
the
drugs were
strings.
dictating
They were
what you were doing.
dictating. I didn't get to do nothing except for and eventually it killed me. So I get to do anything and everything. And
well put, brother.
best buddy Tim.
I'm gonna,
Come on, Timmy Buns.
Oh,
Yeah. What does recovery mean to you?
Just pass the ball.
and and that's what it means. No. Endless opportunities. Same thing that we just shared about what we're grateful for. I think that's what I
Stealing
found.
Thunder.
What I found in recovery and what it's formed itself to me is just endless opportunities. And that's when I say grateful, I could sit and elaborate on opportunities, but it goes with getting to make choices. It goes with getting to meet new people, learning new things, hearing a different perspective on the same thing we read from 10 different people, getting 10 different definitions. The opportunities have been endless. Getting my life back. That's one of the keyest things. I'm getting my life back. I get to be a son to somebody. I get to be a brother to someone. I get to be a friend, shoulder to lean on, what have you. So, and I get a matching bracelet. With that
thanks, Mom.
Next week, again, we got Chelsea H and Leon Q. And we are having this 2218 weekly gratitude podcast.
Gratitude.
Every Friday from 9 till 11.
We want to give a shout out to Vice President of the club, Eric, who is, we just want to let everyone know, he's behind the scenes. He helped make this dream a reality. Quick background, about less than a week and a half ago, we had this idea, and boom, here we are.
Yeah, it's
Boom.
miraculous.
So, and that's
Boom.
recovery. Boom.
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 That comes from
Boom.
Rob because I had a mustache back in the day, and Rob said I looked like the Sham Wow guy.
Sham wow. The biter? The biter?
Yeah, so now I say boom.
Boom.
Because of Rob. But so we want to thank everyone for being on.
Yes.
Rob and Sammer, thank you
Sam.
guys. You guys have been awesome.
Absolutely.
It's huge.
We want to thank everyone who viewed us live for the questions. We want feedback. We want to continue to grow and evolve this show just like we do our recovery. So let us know what you think we could do better, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and just hit us up.
Just those two, though.
Yeah.
To clarify, just those two.
And if you tell our sponsor, he knows how to get a hold of us too.
Reach out to Sam and Rob if you want to. Sammers and Rob.
So that being said, thank you everyone. And
Thank you.
You got anything else, Tim?
You know what? You're all loved.
You are all loved.
You're
You
all
are all
loved.
worth it.
Most
You're all
definitely.
miracles.
Don't
you
give
can
up.
do it.
Never give up. Never.
Same bad time, same bad channel next week.
Boom.
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 Eric, thank you again, and tune in next week.
Boom.
Have a great night, guys.